Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Irina Steinbeck. I'm the founder and managing director at Data Crossroads. We provide training and consulting services to companies that want to get in control of their data and information resources. In this presentation, I would like to talk to you about data lineage from business perspective. I will discuss and share with you my insights on the following three questions. What is data lineage? Why do companies need it? And how to develop a business case for data lineage and how to implement it. Let's start with the first question. What is data lineage? We will discuss several topics, the terms that are similar to the concept of data lineage, the definition of data lineage, at what level of data model you can document data lineage, and the metamodel of data lineage. I have been working on this topic for 3 years already. I would like to share with you the main lesson that I have learned from it. Each time I start speaking with someone on the subject, the first question that I ask is, what is your understanding of data lineage? There are two reasons for that. First one, data lineage continues to be a very abstract concept for both IT and business professionals. The second reason is that everyone has a different understanding of data lineage. One of my colleagues said, everybody needs data lineage, nobody can't explain what they mean by that. Once I delivered a presentation on this topic to the professional community of data architects in the Netherlands. I asked three participants to provide their definition of data lineage. Oh, surprise, surprise! All definitions they provided were completely different. The same happens throughout the entire global data management community. I can say with full professional confidence, there is no aligned or clear definition of data lineage. It's even worse than that. There are some other terms, the definition of which resemble the definition of data lineage to a great extent. These concepts are data chain, data flow, integration architecture, and information value chain. Let's briefly discuss the definition of each of these concepts. I used DAMA International Data Management Body of Knowledge publications as a reference for these definitions. I will further refer to these publications as DAMA Daimbok. I will not read all of these definitions out to you. You can pause the presentation and have a look at them yourself. The most important words are marked in bold, and these are the words that I would like to focus on. Data lineage. It's a description of the pathway from the data source to their current location and the alterations made to the data along the pathway. The key words here is the pathway of data and alterations made to data. Data flow speaks of the transfer of data between systems and data sets. The most striking and important is that data flow is a type of data lineage. The definition of data chain simply stresses that data chain is a synonymous of data lineage. The same happened to the integration architecture definition. DAMA Daimbok simply tells that data lineage and data flows are also names for this concept. The definition of information value chain includes the same components that are used to document data lineage, such as applications, data models, etc. I hope that you now can see for yourself how the concept of data lineage is so similar to other concepts. Now it's time to take a closer look at the key components of data lineage. To establish the key components of data lineage, I will be using the same source, the publication of DAMA Daimbok, Data Management Body of Knowledge by DAMA International. Let's first take a look at the first statement provided by DAMA. DAMA stipulates that data flow can be documented at one of the three data model levels: subject area, business entity, or data attribute. As we have already identified that DAMA considers data flow as a type of data lineage, we will apply this definition to data lineage. We can translate this statement as the following. Subject area is the level of the conceptual model. Business entities and attributes can relate to the logical level of the data model. Business entities and attributes at the physical level will be transformed into tables and columns correspondingly. Now let's take a look at the second definition provided by DAMA. This definition highlights which other components should be linked to data. These are systems and applications, data stores and databases, and network segments. They represent the physical infrastructure responsible for the storage, movement, and transformation of data. It's important to take notice that business processes and roles are taken into account. So let us summarize these two and some other definitions graphically. Data flows through systems, applications, and databases. This flow starts in data sources and it ends at the point of usage, often reports or dashboards. At this level, we speak about application flows and or dataset flows. Each application has its logical and physical data models. So in this case, you document data lineage at the level of data entities and data attributes or tables and columns. As it moves from one application to another, data undergoes transformation. At the logical level, you describe these transformations by the means of transformation rules. At the physical level, these transformation rules are converted into ETL, extract, transform, load processes. Some companies maintain logical data models that do not depend on solutions. And then, of course, you can document data lineage at the conceptual level. At this level, you will operate with business subject areas or business terms. Usually, you can use restriction rules or constraints to explain the changes in data at this level. Each of these flows represent so-called horizontal data lineage. The important task in the documentation of data lineage is linking different levels of the data model with each other. It's so-called vertical data lineage or vertical linkage or vertical data architecture. In other words, you link a subject area or business term with the corresponding data entity and data attribute, and then you link data entity and attribute with tables and columns correspondingly. The same linking is required for restriction rules, transformation rules, and ETLs. Now you can see how complex the concept of data lineage turns out to be. And of course, everything should be linked to business processes as specified by DAMA. This is the picture I use when I talk to business people from business departments. For the purpose of this presentation, let's agree on the following definition. Data lineage is the documentation that describes the path that data flows from its origin to its destination. For professionals and for big fans of data lineage, I have developed a logical model of data lineage. You can see it on this slide. Of course, I don't intend to dive into details, but it's simply another representation of data lineage metamodel. This is the end of the first part of the presentation. We have discussed the definition of data lineage. We have examined other concepts similar to data lineage. We have agreed that data lineage can be documented at one or more levels of data model. And we have discovered the key components of data lineage that are to be documented and linked. Now it's time to move on and discuss why do we need data lineage. We will focus on the needs of business. There are four key reasons why business people need data lineage. The first reason is legislative requirements. To be honest, legislative requirements are the key driver that leads companies to exploring data lineage. For financial institutions, this well-known principles for effective data aggregation and risk reporting. The abbreviation of this famous standard of the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision is PERDA. The document is also known as BCBS 239. This standard was published in 2013 and made a huge impact on the development of data management functions within financial institutions. Other well-known legislations are the European Union General Data Protection Regulation, IFRS 9, IFRS 17. These legislative acts are applicable for companies in different industries, not only financial institutions. Many specialists consider data lineage as the ultimate remedy to meet these requirements. At the same time, the term data lineage is never explicitly mentioned in these regulatory documents. All conclusions about the necessity of data lineage are based on careful investigation of legislative requirements. Then these requirements are matched to the data management capabilities, methods, and techniques, with data lineage being part of it. The second reason to document data lineage are business changes. Very often company deals with different types of business changes, such as changes in information needs and requirements, changes in application landscapes, organizational changes, etc. If, for example, some changes take place in the sourcing applications, specialists will need to perform an impact analysis. The impact analysis will estimate all required changes in the consequent applications, including the impact on the end report and/or dashboard. In this case, data lineage will be able to ease the impact analysis of the change. If changes affect, for example, information and reporting requirements, professionals will need to use root cause analysis. This analysis will allow them to assess which data is required to produce this new information, where data should came from, and how it should be transformed. In such a case, a root cause analysis will be much easier to do if data lineage is already recorded. So far, knowledge about data processing is very often kept in the minds of professionals or in the best case scenarios on local computers in the form of Word or Excel documents. Therefore, the documentation of the integrated data lineage will speed up the change process and allow saving of time and resources. The third reason is data quality initiatives. A lot of companies start their data management initiatives with focusing on the resolution of data quality issues. There are two key tasks in data quality. First task is the resolution of data quality issues. It can be done by performing root cause analysis. If you want to succeed, you need to have data lineage in place. The second task is the prevention of data quality issues by implementing data quality checks and controls. These checks and controls should be set up along with the data transformation chain. Knowledge of data lineage is also the key to success. Last but not least reason is supervisory and audit requirements. There is a growing tendency that supervisors require companies to provide granular data instead of aggregated reports. The well-known example is UnAccredit. UnAccredit is a data set with detailed information on individual bank loans in the Eurozone area. UnAccredit stands for Analytical Credit Data Set. Often, internal and external auditors ask for the explanation of the origin of some reported figures. To be able to trace changes in data, finance and risk staff need to have access to the data lineage information. I hope I have convinced you that the documentation of data lineage becomes an unavoidable task for different data management, IT, and business professionals. As I have already mentioned, the term data lineage is never explicitly mentioned in regulatory documents. I will demonstrate you how data management professionals have made conclusions about the necessity of data lineage because of legislative requirements. I will share with you my investigations of two pieces of legislation. I made the analysis of two requirements, BCBS 239 and GDPR. First, I took the model of data lineage, which we previously discussed. Then I started making the analysis of the text of these legislative acts. I translated requirements into the corresponding components of data lineage. The result of such an analysis you will see on this slide. There are two circles, orange and blue, that reflect the requirements of BCBS 239 and GDPR correspondingly. For example, you can see that BCBS 239 requires the documentation and mapping of the following components: risk report catalog, business processes, IT infrastructure and application landscape, data dictionary and repository of business rules that correspond to the logical level of data lineage. BCBS 239 also demands the mapping of related DQ checks and controls to risk data flows. When a company specifies the requirements for data lineage and its components, the requirement of business users and technical staff should be taken into account as well. Using this slide, I will share with you the key requirements to data lineage from the business stakeholders. The first requirement is the knowledge of the data flow and data transformation between different applications. As I have already mentioned, for different purposes, business stakeholders should be able to perform impact analysis and root cause analysis. The data lineage information should be available in a graphical format. I already mentioned there is still a lot of companies that keep data lineage in Excel format. To make the information about data lineage understandable and shareable, it's better to make a graphical representation. Next requirement is about the scope of data lineage. Business people often need to know data lineage in its full scope, from the golden sources to the final management reports. In the complex architectural landscape, it's often not possible. Therefore, the scoping of the data lineage initiative from the beginning is a must condition to make this initiative feasible and successful. Last but not least requirement is knowledge not only of the design of the data lineage, but also the changes in data values along the flows. Whether it's possible, we will discuss later on. I hope that I now have a better understanding why business people need data lineage. Now it's time to focus on the practical aspects of data lineage implementation. We will discuss the key questions about data lineage for companies that would like to start data lineage initiative. Then I will share with you some insights or lessons learned from the implementation. We will also briefly touch on the question of tooling. If companies think about launching a data lineage initiative, there are three key questions to be answered first. These three key questions are: what is a feasible scope of data lineage? What method of documentation is feasible for your company and fits your purpose in the best way possible, descriptive or automated? What kind of data lineage will the company need to proceed? Process design, metadata lineage, or value data lineage? Let's start with the first question. What is a feasible scope of data lineage and how to specify it? To define the scope, we will use the model of data lineage discussed earlier. If you recall, we spoke about the horizontal and vertical data lineage. Horizontal data lineage shows the movement of data between applications. You can document horizontal data lineage at one or more levels of data model: conceptual, logical, and physical. Vertical data lineage maps these different levels with each other. For example, business term at the conceptual level should be linked with data entities and attributes at the logical level. Then they in turn should be linked with tables and columns at the physical level. There are 6 factors that specify the scope of data lineage. The first one is the enterprise. Enterprise architects should be familiar with this term. According to Togor, the Enterprise Architecture Guide by the Open Group, enterprise is the high-level description of the organization. It can include several departments or divisions, but it also can cover several organizations. For your data lineage initiative, you will first specify the range of departments or companies to be involved. If, for example, the initiative will focus on compliance with GDPR regulation, departments that deal with personal data will be involved. The second factor of the scope is the length of the horizontal data lineage. For larger international companies, it may not be possible to cover everything at once, the lineage from golden source to the end reporting. You can start the documentation of data lineage somewhere along the data chain and end it somewhere along the chain. The depth has relation to the vertical lineage. The depth specifies at which levels of data lineage you would like to document data lineage. Usually, companies start at the highest level of documentation. First, application flow, then datasets flow mapped to the application flow, and then you might start with conceptual model, logical level, or you can also go and start it from physical level of the data model. The fourth factor is the number of data sets. If a company proceeds with GDPR requirement, it will only take into consideration sets of personal data. The fifth factor allows you to limit the number of components of data lineage. You might decide whether you will include or exclude mapping between business processes and application chains. The last factor is the data lineage object. For example, SAS data lineage tool includes 450 data lineage objects. So you can choose the limited number of documentation of your data lineage. For example, you might consider the documentation only of tables, fields, ETLs, and jobs. These 6 factors can be considered as the limitation factors for your data lineage initiative. They also might assist in the prioritization of these tasks. I hope you got the answer to the first question about data lineage. Now let us explore the second question: which method of data lineage documentation is feasible for your company and fit for the purpose of the initiative? There are 2 key methods to document data lineage: descriptive and automated. Descriptive means that you document data lineage manually using one or another application. Automated means that the process of recording metadata at the physical level is automated. Let's compare these methods. For the comparison, we will use several factors. The first factor is a data model level. Descriptive method you mainly use to document data lineage at the conceptual and or logical level. The automated method you use for documentation at the physical level. If a company decides to combine, for example, physical and logical level, such a mapping will be done manually. I mean the relationship between the logical and physical level. The second and third factors are the resources required and maintenance requirement. The descriptive data lineage is always done manually. The job is always time and resource consuming. It's applicable not only to new developments, but also to the maintenance of already documented data lineage. Should changes occur, you will always need to keep an eye out on these changes and adjust the documentation. Furthermore, should the documentation done in collaborative environment, data management professionals should dedicate resources to control that the information is up to date and consistent. Automated data lineage will initially require a lot of resources to create the automated process of reading and uploading of metadata information. Then, with the new releases, the data lineage information will be updated automatically. Yet, should some new application be included in the process, manual efforts for coding will be required. If a company decides to map the physical level with the logical one, again such a mapping can only be done manually. The fourth factor is tooling. For descriptive data lineage, a company might start with documentation in a Microsoft application such as Visio, PowerPoint, Excel, Word. There are, of course, advanced tools on the market such as Calibra, Axon by Informatica, Arvin, Solidatus. The company's choice depends on the scope and resources available. The list of the major providers of automated solution you might find at metaintegration.com. The key players are SAS, Informatica, Oracle, Calibra, etc. When you opt for the automated solution, you should take into account the following. To implement the automated solution, you will always need several modules to be coupled with each other. For example, metadata repository, business rules repository, data lineage viewer, etc. When you make a decision about the method of implementation, you should take into account the following. You can start with the descriptive solution and then proceed with automated if needed. Another option, for some part of your company, you might choose one method, for another part, another method. Everything depends on the importance of data sets and priorities. The third question about data lineage is related to the decision making about the types of data lineage. I have already mentioned that there are two types of data lineage, process-designed metadata lineage and value data lineage. Process-designed metadata lineage demonstrates only the design of the data transformation path. The value data lineage means traceability and the changes of values of data. Usually, when you talk to technical people, they always speak about the metadata lineage. Business people look at the situation differently. It doesn't matter how many times you explain the meaning of metadata lineage. The first question you get back is, will I be able to trace the changes in the values of data? This is the point where devil comes to the scene. If you start a data lineage initiative, you should be very careful and precise in managing expectations of business people. There is no standard solution for value data lineage on the market. It's good to know that there are no legislative requirements that demand the implementation of value data lineage. It's also advisable to clarify business requirements. Often, businesses need to have reconciliation capabilities. For that, you might use a workaround solution like building reports into the data points. Drill-down capabilities is also a means to meet business requirements that are often called value data lineage. For the last 3 years, I have been participating in data lineage project implementation. We have started from descriptive data lineage, then we turned to the implementation of an automated solution. The company has achieved great results. For a part of the company, we have metadata lineage information at the physical level in place. The way our data has been transformed is now fully transparent. But as always in life, we met some unexpected challenges. I will share with you these lessons learned. These lessons are something you should definitely start to pay attention even in the initial phase of your initiative. Challenge 1. When you consider buying an application to document data lineage, be aware you will almost always need to purchase several modules. Why? First, you will need a metadata repository. Then you will need a repository to document business rules. If you decide to combine your data quality initiative with data lineage, data quality tools for data profiling will be also required. And then you will need to have a data lineage viewer to integrate these different modules. The viewer will ensure data lineage information in a graphical format. Challenge 2. Almost no application on the market can combine the documentation of data lineage at different levels of data modules. In the best case scenario, you will need to purchase several modules from the same provider as then integrate them. The challenge number 3 is the versioning control and auditability. Very often, data lineage applications maintain only the latest version of data lineage. So you will need to find additional solutions to archive the previous versions of data lineage. The versioning control and keeping a history of data processing is one of the key requirements from finance and risk departments. Challenge 4. The excess of metadata information. First, you have to think about the memory required to keep metadata information. Even if you choose a limited number of metadata lineage objects, you will still get too much information. The challenge number 5, it caused by the amount of metadata lineage. For the majority of data lineage users, the data lineage will not look user-friendly. So even if your company succeeded in documenting metadata, you will still need to develop some overarching analytical tools to make the information available to business users. Even if by this point of my presentation you still want to proceed with data lineage initiative, let's talk first about the key steps you will need to take. The first one, you should clearly specify what are the key business drivers for this initiative and who are the key stakeholders. It could be requirement to compliance regulations. It can be also, for example, related to data quality initiatives. In any case, you will need to have very strong arguments when you will go to your management with such a proposal. Top management should see the real business value as a result of the data management initiative. Buying support of the top management is a key factor to success. Data lineage is a money, time, and resource consuming task. If you got a green light from your top management to make the initiative feasible, you need to be very precise about the scope. First, you should identify only the critical data sets that correspond to the chosen business driver. Please let me repeat the same example. If the business driver is in compliance with GDPR, you will preferably choose only personal data sets. Then you will continue with the limitation of the scope by analyzing the limits of data lineage in respect to the depth and length. As soon as you are ready with the scope, you should clarify and communicate requirements for data lineage by involving stakeholders from different departments like IT, data management, businesses, compliance, finance, risk, etc. It will be wise to summarize these requirements and limit them to a feasible scope. Depending on the requirements, you will choose the method of documentation, descriptive or automated. Then, and only then, you will start thinking about the tool. This is the end of this presentation. I hope I have provided you with some insight in this complex story of data lineage. Should you still have questions, please reach out to me through our website datacrossroads.nl. You can also schedule a free 30-minute consultation with me. Also, if you have any feedback, please leave it in the comments section below this video. Thank you for joining me today, and I wish you good luck on your journey of exploration and implementation of data lineage.